Just wanted to do a quick follow-up to my weekend video and talk about these names that I've been looking at. Okay, so Oxy was one that I was looking at on the daily time frame, thinking that this might be a daily high or low, and you could buy the hot break of Friday's high with a stop below the low of Friday, and look, it worked, but it was gapping up on the morning, and then came back in on the open, and basically, I think it got within a few pennies of the high, but didn't quite get it. Actually, if you look at this on the one, so I did not buy that, sadly. I don't know why my computer's being really slow. Yeah, just a few pennies within there, and it did not fill the gap completely. But basically, yeah, was pulling in pre-market, and then basically has been go from the open. And I did try to get long in here, and then I made a mistake because while I was long that, I was also trying to trade another name, and I ended up Xing out of this order by accident because I thought I was shorting a different name, but I actually ended up selling this name. So I screwed up that entry and I missed that opportunity. And it did go and break. It confirmed the daily high or low here by breaking over this high here. So pretty disappointed that that did not work out for me. Up next was AVGO. So I was looking at the low of Friday. Let me get this in the 30-minute chart so you can see it clearly. I was looking at the low on Friday and thinking that as we had set a daily higher high, we were looking for a daily higher low. We got hourly oversold as we were nearing the close. I actually bought in over here. I did not sell a portion here thinking that it was going to keep going, and then it came all the way back in and closed at the lows. And so I basically canceled out of this trade at a small loss, and look, it worked. Like, this is a bummer because it just didn't. If it had given me any sort of strength into the close on Friday, any indication that that this hourly oversold for daily higher low was going to work, I would have held it. But closing at the lows on a Friday, when with all the crazy headline stuff that's been going on lately, I couldn't hold that over the weekend, and so I was very disappointed to not be able to get into this. It has not broken the high of Friday yet, but it's pretty strong today. Still inside bar, so I guess we'll see what happens. I had been planning, once I saw it gap up this morning, I was like, well, if it dips down, I'll buy it against the low of Friday. And it didn't do that. It just sort of went, and I did not even make a single attempt on it, sadly. And then PLTR, I was looking for it to give me hourly oversold for a daily higher low because it had shown some weakness on Friday, but it didn't. It did dip below Friday's low, sort of held this 4-hour EMA 12 that has been kind of acting as support on the way up, and then rallied again from there. But at this point, it hasn't broken the high of Friday, so it could just still roll over. Who knows what's going to happen there? PLTR bulls they're hard to put down. Reddit, I was looking for hourly oversold for daily higher low. It did not get even close. It did drop on the morning, held the 4-hour EMA 12, held above the yesterday low of day, but it was basically holding at a value area low, which for me is not a great level burner play. So I didn't take that one. Cost again, I was looking when it had that pull in on Friday, I was looking for a bit more continuation, but no, it held the 5-day moving average and is still an inside bar, has not broken out yet over the for high of Friday, but the bulls kind of just rallied from the lows of Friday and held on, and now are pushing very slowly higher. Didn't make any trades there. Nvidia was super strong this morning, and this is really disappointing to me because it's the only trade that I took today that I made not a bunch, I made a little bit of money on, where I bought this pullback here and I rode it up to highs here and then got out. And then I was looking at this as a 2-minute rising wedge to play for the short because I'm looking for the weekly lower high. Now, at this point, I will say that the weekly lower high is not the most likely scenario anymore because of the retracement size. So from this high to this low, sorry, I'll use fibs for this. From this high to this low, we're past the 50% mark. So again, if we'd stay below 50%, weekly lower high was more likely, but now that we're above it, it's less likely. But I still feel like we're basically one time framing up here. So if we have a rollover, it could be pretty sharp, and it's worth being in that because it you could flush a few days of price action pretty quickly. So I'm still interested short, right? So I come in the morning, and I really just bought because it was so strong. Like, look at the volume on this move up is just increasing bull volume on the move up. So I bought this dip, and then when it got up here, I knew that the call wall was around 135. I know we have the gap fill above, but it's really far up there at 140, 188. And so I was looking at this thinking it's starting to look like a rising wedge like this. And I thought, oh, this could be a play for me to get short. Oops. Not quite, maybe this one. Right, so there's the rising wedge. And I was thinking 135 should be my stop. Come on. $135 should be my stop because I know the call wall is there, and I'd seen it's struggling. What a rising wedge is basically price setting higher highs without being able to get any follow through, and setting higher lows without follow through, and then at some point it breaks, and you can see it happen here. So I actually, one second, I'll get my executions on here. Okay, so now you can see my executions. I bought this dip, sold a portion here as it moved up, and then I held the rest and sold it all here. And then I think I bought the dip again here. I sold some there. Bought, sold. And where was it? The short started here, I guess. I thought this must be the first short. Anyway, I can't remember exactly where it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense here with the 3 buys and then the 1 sell. This must have been my first short. And then what happened is, so I was shorting on these little pops up. I must have thought that it wasn't going to go. And I was also time pinched because I had to take my kids to school. And so it rallied up, and I was like, okay, if it gets any higher than this high, I'm going to short it. But it didn't. And then it dropped back down, and it got below where I'd shorted from. So I just took that little bit of profit. And then I had to stop and go take my kids to school. Then the next high it made, which was above that high, this was something I would have shorted, and I was not at my computer because I was driving my kids to school, and I missed the short opportunity, and now it's coming back down. Of course, you got to be watching VWAP. At this point, you're looking actually for a 15-minute higher low. Like if you just look at this on the 15-minute chart, right? You've had this big move up. You're looking for a 15-minute higher low. So back to the 2-minute. The best thing to do now, if you're a bull and you're looking for a continuation, is see if this is a 2-minute falling wedge now. Let's see here. Some sort of bottoming pattern if you're looking for the 15-minute higher low. And there it is. And you'd want this to hold, especially here at VWAP. So you could take a long here if you were looking for it to continue. It's worth considering. But I guess because you've passed the 50% mark, there's a good likelihood it's going to continue. But I also see this as head and shoulders here. So to me, it's just not what the trade I was looking for, right? So I think it's kind of off for me. I'm not really going to do that. Meta, I was looking for it to do the thing it's been doing where it rallies off the open and then I can short the high when the MA rider fails on like the 30-second time frame. You can see I've been doing a lot of that recently here. And it didn't do that. It just dropped and then it found balance, and now it's pushing highs again. You know, Meta bulls, they're hard to contend with. So this is not a clear setup for me, and the spreads are no good on Meta. I didn't touch it. Tesla, this is one I really wanted to talk about. So it came lower today. You can see I haven't traded it in a few days, like a little over a week. But this one is really important to talk about because the way I look at this one is, let's look at this indicator that shows me where the ranges go, the pivot ranges. Okay. So on this time frame, what I'm looking at is the green area is basically the pivot lows where it normally gets to, and the red area is pivot highs. But we're currently in a downtrend. We did just set a fresh low, so we could come up and test those red highs, but we've been testing this 4-hour EMA 12 multiple times and rejecting there. And if you look at the last couple of times it's done that, so here we had a drop down and then tested it here, and it went slowly up and then tested it, right? Then another drop down, sideways, and then up and test it, another drop down, and now we're basically pushing up. So, you might look at this day and go like, oh, look at this crazy strength we're having today. But relatively speaking, on this larger time frame, it's not that great. And I'd still be looking to get short on the 4 hour, especially if we get this sort of move like we had here into the close and here on the open, where it's a fast move up, right? And then you can look on short-term time frames for that to be riding some sort of moving average, or be riding a one time frame or stair stepping up on a smaller time frame, and then you look for that, also the volume climax, to short it. And so it doesn't look like we're going to get that today. I thought we might sort of go up and sideways, or even come down a bit sideways. Like maybe today is more of a balanced day, and then tomorrow we get the test. We'll see. But again, this is downtrending, and like if I was going to consider this long, which I have been thinking about, got to look at it on the daily time frame. And where is the best place to get it here on the daily time frame? Well, the biggest area of balance from recent past is right in here. And so that's right around 3. There's a gap. There's also a gap that was formed here, and that's at 345.45. So of course you got to look at that and say, okay, we're currently at 361. The low of the day today was 350 and 51 cents. So why did it bounce there? Well, it was probably because it was right above $350, the round number. And so I do think we get a little bit of a bounce, maybe test the 5-day, not today, maybe tomorrow, and then come back down again. I'm still looking for down. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just going to rally from here. But that would be my ideal spot, is get it into this balance area, have it do a hard flush into there, and ideally get daily oversold. We're not there yet. We're currently at 38, and I think earlier today we were at 36 or something like that. And daily oversold is well below that right now. I think if you look at it with the RSI levels on, yeah, there it is, down at 324.95 right now. So that's no good. But I will say that rallies are what's going to make this RSI come up. You can see like this move up today has RSI moving up from where it was yesterday, pushing down. So I do think that if it continues like this, up a little bit, then come down, up a little bit, then come down, then there's more chance it's going to get that daily oversold. Because I care about this area so much, if the price action is good and it's not daily oversold, I will take a shot there for the long. Because ultimately, why am I going for a long? Because we're looking for a monthly higher low. So we had this crazy move up, right? And let's measure that with the fibs. From this pivot low to that pivot high, we're only at the 382 here, right? We're not even, if we get this spot, even at daily oversold, we're not even 50% retraced yet. So that's still very bullish on the monthly time frame. And I would want to try to get that and hold on for the move, for the continuation move to the upside. All right, that's it. So not an awesome day for me trading so far, but didn't lose anything and just stuck to my rules, and that's all you can do.